On to Westminster correspondent David Porter, who is, I believe, has some guests outside his unaccustomed position in front of the Supreme Court. David.
I do indeed, Gordon. Thank you very much. Yeah, outside, quite a noisy Supreme Court, it's got to be said here, with two of my journalistic colleagues, Kevin Maguire from the Daily Mirror and Jennifer McKinnon from the Press Association. Jennifer, you have actually been in that building covering the court case. What impression are you getting of it a day and a half into proceedings?
It's slow, and obviously these legal arguments are very, very complicated. But overridingly, there seems to be a little bit of hostility more towards the government side. The judges are asking, why are there no written statements coming in? And actually, yesterday they were demanding that there was a written statement from the government side on what exactly Boris Johnson is going to do if they were to find against him, to find that prorogation was unlawful. They're saying that they want to have those next steps actually spelled out.
And do you think the UK government is going to go anywhere near giving that information, or are all the lawyers saying, I'm afraid I don't have that information, Your Lordships?
Lord Keane yesterday was very, very carefully dancing around that. He didn't actually say what the next steps would be, but he did say that he would get something in writing. It's not clear what he's going to get in writing, but he did say that he would. Kevin
Maguire, if we step back for a moment, it is an extraordinary situation, isn't it, that we have the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court, just literally a few hundred yards away from Westminster, deciding whether it is lawful or not to shut Westminster down.
No, absolutely, and it's empty now, it's suspended, it's sidelined, there's a couple of MPs wandering around, perhaps nobody told them it was shut. And yeah, and of course over the road here, the judges are going to need in the Supreme Court the wisdom of Solomon to try and work this one out, because of course you have two conflicting legal systems. You have the High Court in England rules, well, it's nothing to do with us. The Court of Session in Scotland, hang on, he's lied to the Queen. This is pretty important. What are they going to do? And of course they may find, and it's very hard to predict, and you look where you're going, but you're right, there's some hostility towards the government's case where it goes, but it may be that you can lie to the Queen, but that's not unlawful.
Whatever the judgment is, the lawyers are going to chew over it. But if, and it is a big if it was to go against the UK government, how much trouble does that put Boris Johnson in?
I think it is a lot of trouble, although Lady Hale, the President of the Supreme Court, said at the beginning this wouldn't affect the Brexit timetable, whatever that is now, with of course Johnson in conflict with Parliament. But it'll be another blow to his reputation at the very least. He's had the worst start of any Prime Minister I can remember. I can only go back to the beginning of Thatcher, but worse than Major, Blair, Brown, Cameron. He's lost all his votes in Parliament, he's lost a by-election, he's threatening to break the law, he's been repeatedly caught lying, and we know why he wanted Parliament suspended. He didn't want Parliament sitting because MPs could cause problems for him on Brexit and somehow try and shackle him. But he pretended it was all to do with the Queen's speech. They've somehow got to work it through, but we often see, time after time, the courts here, they don't want to get involved in politics.
Jennifer, if it does go against the UK government, I think we can all assume that Parliament will come back, and that is going to be quite an occasion, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, yes. But the problem is, and what the judges again are looking at, is that there doesn't appear to be anything to stop Boris Johnson proroguing it for a second time, and just taking us for those final 2 weeks up until the October 31st deadline.
Kevin, not just from the Conservative side, but also the Labour side as well. What is Jeremy Corbyn up to? He seems to be saying, I think we could have a referendum, but I will sit on the fence if we have I will sit on the fence if we have a referendum.
He's going to lose face over this.
I will sit on the fence if there is a referendum.
And I think it's an untenable position, but I understand, right? His thinking is, of course, general election, he wants Remainers and Leavers to back him. He sees that Johnson is going off in a kamikaze no-deal Brexit. He sees that the Liberal Democrats are going to be neither Liberal nor Democrat and just revoke Article 50. So he thinks he comes through the middle, offer Remain or his reasonable Brexit, as he terms it, to a referendum. I can see the logic all that way. I can see the logic of him saying he'll accept the result and implement it in a bid not to make it a Cameron case where you'd have to resign. But the idea you as Prime Minister could say during the molten heat of a referendum, I'm not telling you what I think, leave it over to you. Look, You can say whether you like beer or lager or you prefer red or white wine, but in a referendum on one of the major issues of the day, to think that as Prime Minister you can just step back and have nothing to do with how people are going to vote. It's just ludicrous. It's for the birds. It won't last. He's going to look very weak, and it won't be leadership.
And keeping with that drinking analogy, Jennifer, next week Labour gathers in Brighton. There will be a fair amount of that going on. Sure. But this is going to be pretty difficult for them, isn't it? We know there are divisions in the party, and nothing Jeremy Corbyn seems to have said is going to please either side.
No, and we've also seen Labour students being disaffiliated from the party today as well. There's a lot of internal wrangling going on, and it's going to be, as Kevin says, it is going to be very difficult in that conference to keep this fence-sitting position, because there will be a lot of Labour MPs saying, look, we did this in the European elections, and look where that got us, absolutely nowhere.
Final question to both of you, and coming back to Brexit. Is the UK going to leave by the 31st of October? Kevin?
No, I wouldn't have thought so, unless Boris Johnson breaks the law.
It's still a possibility, I would say, but yeah, it's looking further and further away.
Jennifer McKinn and Kevin Maguire, thank you very much. Gordon, that's back to you.
Thanks, David.